It's rough out here for sports bettors because NBA taking a break, and at least I know on my sports betting app you can't bet on the All-Star stuff. So I think you got like one hockey game really tonight as of recording this podcast. You should-
Just if you're betting on the celebrity game, it may be time to call that number. What's that? 1-800-GAMBLER or whatever they're saying.
Listen,
You may gotta hit the hotline there.
you could have put money on Micah Parsons winning MVP. I think that would have been a fair one.
Was that a wise decision? Or is there nothing better that can happen with that money?
You could probably invest it into some Bitcoin.
I feel like John Thompson. I always love that clip of John Thompson III at Georgetown back in the day when he's like, "Who told you to take that shot? You practiced that shot." That's how I feel like when people were betting on the Celebrity All-Star game.
Yeah, like what's going on here? Yeah, I did see someone say that was the biggest win Dallas has had since like 1997.
Now that's the kind of slander I'm here for. Now listen, I'm here for the Cowboys slander.
Yeah. So obviously we'll talk a little bit of All-Star break here, and for full disclosure, I fumbled the bag while Kevin was on a little vacation and wasn't able to do a trade deadline episode. So we are going to do that now as well in this episode of the Driving Dish NBA podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna play catch up a little bit, but there was a lot going on. It was a good deadline. Still talk some winners and losers. Obviously, play some grid as well. Haven't played that in a few weeks. Shout out to my guys Shervin and Vince for coming on, holding it down a few weeks ago. They liked it so much that they actually have now started their own podcast and are 2 episodes deep. So if you want to go check out, no, it's everything. It's okay. They're talking because they talked Super Bowl a little bit last week.
Okay,
they're heavier focused on the betting as well. It's called the Buy the Dip podcast. So
I like it
a little more.
I like it.
But it's kind of funny. Like I feel like I have been asking them to pod and like challenging them for years now to do it, like even to just get them to come on our show. And I just now they have 2 full hour-long episodes. It was like, oh, you just loaded up the rocket launcher.
You just fired
it right after. Like
if they need somebody that is currently on a 0-12 bet streak, I got them. Dude, quite literally so impressive. Like, it's impressive how bad I'm doing right now.
Everybody should just fade you at this point. Like, that's what we're saying. Yeah.
No, like, we're at the point where, like, I was talking to a buddy. I was like, you should get your money back if nothing on your parlay hits. Like, that's actually as impressive as hitting all of it.
I weirdly agree with that, depending on how big the parlay is. But
right. Well, I mean, most of mine are, like, 3-4 leg parlays. The problem is I started feeling like there was, like, a method to the madness, if that makes sense. I follow this guy on social media. He does like AI numbers and not necessarily saying like this 90% chance this hits. What he does is he takes the last 10 games of all NBA players and then he'll say the player and the stat that they have hit the over and the percentage that they've done it in the last 10. So it kind of gives you an idea like they might be able to do it again or they're on a streak. So it'd be like John Collins 90.3% over on 4.5 rebounds a game or something like that. And then you go, okay. So then what I would do is I'd take like the top 4 on that and I'd parlay them together. And I'd be like, well, they're all 90% going to happen. So there's no way this doesn't hit. And then guess what? They don't hit. So there's always that. You got to take what I realize that's doing, and it's very obvious now in retrospect, is they're not taking into account the back-to-back nights, the injuries, or someone got hurt beforehand, or a person they're going up against. Like, it doesn't look at all that. It just literally looks at it from a numbers standpoint. So
what I always say to people is that professional gamblers go 52% overall.
Yeah.
Like people who are the best in the world, who do this literally for a career.
Yep.
And if you're good enough to think where you beat Vegas or you got some insider tip,
you lost.
They're going to ban you. Like that's the other thing. If you start running it up that much, like these casinos have massive loss teams, like they're for sure gonna ban you if you actually figure something out, or they might hire you. Who knows? So if you get that good, I mean, hey, they might start getting you to play for the other side as well. But All-Star break, it's going on in Indy right now. As of recording, we're doing this on a Saturday morning, so the dunk contest is later tonight. The skills contest is later tonight.
you look at the dunk contest, you look at those names, it's like, which one of these guys is a little different than the others?
Backpack Mac, baby, but he deserved it. That's the thing is
Well, no,
after
no,
you shout out like last year, look, I know he's not an NBA player, but the dunk contest stinks, and he was really good at it last year. So
well, no, I'm not even saying it for Mac. I'm saying like you look at these guys' names and you're like, Jaylen Brown, what are you doing on this list? Like,
oh, I like that. I was gonna
okay,
give Jaylen Brown some props. I like Jaylen Brown as an all-star. Jaylen Brown is a current guy really trying to give this thing some juice a little bit. I like Jaylen Brown throwing himself in
right.
the mix.
But it's like, is there anybody else on that list of his caliber name?
Of course not, but that's
No.
part of the problem, right?
Well,
Like, that's what
yeah.
we've been talking about, is there hasn't been any star power really.
Right.
I mean, there's been exceptions over the years. Dwight Howard, I feel like, gets
Right.
overlooked when he was doing the dunk contest at the peak of his power. The one LeBron criticism that I rightfully agree
Blake.
with, is him kind of ducking the dunk contest. Like, he never really did it at his peak. Yeah, Blake Griffin obviously deserves a lot of credit too. I mean, we did get spoiled and had a few years here recently. I don't want to totally hate on the dunk contest. Like, obviously, the Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon was a classic.
But
The
even
Aaron
so,
Gordon, Derrick Jones Jr. was a classic. Even though
maybe
AG got robbed in that one for sure.
well, maybe we'd have to go back and look at it, but even those, like Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine, at that point, were they like a bigger name in the NBA? Maybe Aaron Gordon was, but Zach LaVine was still kind of coming up a little bit.
They both were
And
younger. They
yeah,
both are, but they both were solid. Like, they both were starters on their team. You know what I
sure.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
people knew who they were. They weren't, I feel like we've had some, and again, no offense to any of these guys, because some of them have showed out. And again, Mac McClung is a perfect example where it's like
Yeah.
he's not cracking an NBA rotation at this point, but gosh darn it, he's a great dunker.
Well,
So like I don't want to sound like I'm dissing those guys, but yeah, I mean, it's even, I mean, you'll have some of these guys in the dunk contest will be like the 13th and 14th man on NBA rosters. It genuinely is for a lot of people. It's like, who even are these guys?
right. I'm even like, how many minutes do we think between everyone but Jaylen Brown are these guys actually playing in an NBA game? You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely some, but it's not like Jaylen Brown who's playing most of the game. I guess
It
is my
sounds
point.
No, you're right. But it sounds crazy though, because of Jaylen and because of Mac being back after last year's performance. I am more locked in than I have been probably in the last few here.
Okay.
Like, I'm excited to see what happens. And leaning into the G League is the right way to go for this event, because it is kind of at a point where it's like, look, NBA dunkers have kind of done everything physically possible at this point. Like, unless you straight up bring in the guys off YouTube who are just professional dunkers and do this for a living, like, there is a limit to what these guys can do. Like, science can only do so much. But yeah, I mean, I hope in the Jaylen Brown sense, though, that I'd love a trend where that gets some of these guys back in with a lot of star power. Like, imagine like a Jaylen Brown. I'm trying to think of like some of the other highs. So give me like a Jaylen Brown, Ja Morant, and I don't know, insert other high flyer here, plus like a Mac McClung who's won the contest before. And yeah, I think you got a great dunk contest, and I think that gets a little bit of excitement back for it.
Yeah, I agree. And we've talked about this every year. I just feel like I'm so low on the dunk contest. It actually might be one of the least things I look forward to
Yeah,
from
I
the
mean,
All-Star week.
well, the skills contest is a lot of fun. I also really like the 3-point shootout. Like, that's the other thing, is the way with how good these guys have gotten. And I
Yeah,
mean, now there's the other element too of Sabrina I going up against Steph. I think that'll be a lot of fun. Shout out to
yeah.
Sabrina too for shooting from guys range. I like that confidence,
Well, and I was gonna say, I was looking at the I think it was NBA.com's whole thing. It still says that she's gonna shoot from the women's line, and I was like, no, I've definitely heard she's not even gonna let that be a thing. Like, she's gonna shoot from the guys line. She said she practices from there anyway. So it's like, let's go. And at the end of the day, it's that specifically is for charity. So like, all about
yeah.
it.
Shout out to
Um,
Caitlin Clark, by the way. She's not going to come up at all in this, but breaking the
yeah,
D1 women's scoring record, just casually pulling up from the logo. Like,
you
Jesus,
knew
man.
she had to. You had to pull up
Of
from the logo
course,
to
she's
break the
built.
record.
She's different, and I'm excited for her to get to the W. Games this season, and you know me, I'm not even a college guy like that. College basketball is not my forte. I'm pretty big pros. That LSU Iowa game though last year, that was different. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, there was some going on. Wasn't didn't Angel Reese I feel like at the beginning of the season this year, she wasn't playing and they weren't saying why.
Yeah, I don't know. I like full disclosure, I don't know what happened there, like what was
Yeah, I'm
going
trying to see
on.
if there's like
And
a
like you said, LSU didn't really elaborate either. They were pretty close to the
yeah.
vest about it. She's back now and she's been playing, so that's good to see. I'm glad all is well. I don't know, and I again, I don't really want to speculate if I have no
No,
idea what I'm talking about.
no, I
So
don't either. She
she's
is
back.
also
Yeah, she's
on
back now. That's what's
and
all important.
and on the cover as of a day or two ago, some news articles saying she's on the cover of Women's Health magazine this year or this month. So good for her.
All right.
Who's your pick for 3-point contest? Obviously, Dame, the defending champ. Do you think he goes 2 for 2? I kind of want Laurie Markkinen to win.
I would say, can you run down the full roster for me here real quick?
Yep, Malik Beasley, Jalen Brunson, Hallie, Dame, Laurie Markkinen, Donovan Mitchell, Karl Anthony Towns, Trae Young. See, like that is star-studded. That is NBA people you know. Like that's where I feel like if the dunk contest, I like the idea of it being people you are lesser known to kind of make a name for himself, like Mac did last year. But also, if you're gonna have like a Jaylen Brown in it, then let's actually have like more star power. Like let's really show out. But we don't have to rehash that.
Yeah. In terms of my pick for the 3-point contest, I'm gonna go with Trae Young. I don't know. I don't have a real specific reason there.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
Shout out Trae Young, the late All-Star edition. Him and Scotty Barnes getting in. Obviously, with Joel Embiid's injury and with Julius Randle's injury, neither of them will be participating in this weekend. And so those are the last minute subs. Trae, we talked about a little bit, was probably the most borderline guy in the East. Little more controversy in the West, obviously. We talked about with Sabonis, but that doesn't really help in the Eastern Conference. Scotty Barnes, I know Toronto overall has had kind of a disappointing season. Scotty Barnes, though, has taken all the steps he wanted and then some. So you do feel good about his development, his star power going forward. But in terms of the game itself, anything you're looking forward to?
No. No, man. Honestly, I'm looking forward to the 3-point contest. I'm looking forward to Steph versus Sabrina. And that's probably it. Really.
Yeah.
Like it what is it? Tonight's not to transfer to a different thing, but like I'm more excited to watch the Flyers play the Stadium Series. You know what I mean?
Like, play outside against the Devils.
Yeah, like I'd rather watch that at this point, just because the game's like it's whatever. So, I guess that makes me a bad NBA fan. But
no, look, I mean, like you said, some of the event fatigue is real. The game itself fatigue is real. I mean, up until they tweaked the ending a little bit ago, I don't think anyone cared about the All-Star game. Like,
yeah, it's true.
It's not really an entertaining product. Like, it's a lot of fun. I like that. Like, I feel like the intros are more exciting than the game itself is half the time. Like, nobody's trying. Nobody's playing defense.
I kind of like, because we were just watching it the other weekend, the way NHL does it, where it's like, it's literally a tournament, like a mini tournament in one full game timeline, if that makes sense. You know, you have 2 teams go and then 2 more teams go, and then it's all shorter games, and then you kind of do it that way. Like, I'd be all about that. I think that's fun.
Yeah,
and
four captains too might switch it up a little bit. Like it's always been a combo of LeBron and Giannis or LeBron and KD, so you could get more, you know,
or literally do it like 3-on-3. Like that would be fun, man. Like 6 teams of 3-on-3 or whatever you got to do to make the numbers work. Like I'd be all about that. That'd be fun as hell. And
yeah, you give me a 3-on-3 game to 21 and they're scoring by 2s and 1s the way we do whenever we play pickup. Like
that'd be cool. And I know we're not. I know the NBA's already made tweaks, and you got to see how those things are. It's not enough for me to be reinterested in it, I guess.
Well, they give you 5 interesting minutes at the end, but it's just until that happens, you're right. The first, like, sure, I'll go back and I'll watch the highlight of somebody throwing down a ridiculous dunk. Like, that'll be fun, but it's just you're doing that every possession.
That's the exact problem, in my opinion. And this is going to go down a whole nother path of social media and stuff. But it's like, why am I going to watch the All-Star game when I literally can watch like the 3 main highlights on Twitter right after it happens, or the next day as a Sports Center top 10? You know, like I can get the gist of the game, and then you tell me who won, and I'm like, cool, I got it. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
and again,
for what it's worth.
From our side of things, like Embiid being out does hurt my interest a little bit. Like
Yeah.
that's a big part I would want to watch is to see my guy play.
And for what it's worth, I don't think this is uniquely an NBA problem. Like,
No,
I think
I
this
agree.
is pretty much
Baseball's similar to me. Baseball is like I
baseball
can
is
see the home run, I can see the steal, I can see the great catch in a 3-second social media clip, and I can move on.
See, I think baseball is the best by far. I think they're the only one that even remotely is worth watching because I don't know, the pitchers naturally make it
There are
entertaining.
duels,
Back in the
yeah.
day, there used to be stakes on it too, which is kind of crazy. Like them playing for home field advantage in the All-Star game for a World Series was kind of nuts. And I'm glad they did tweak away with that. I mean, yeah, NHL has the same problems that NBA does. Like these guys aren't going to play, like they're not checking each other in an all-star game.
Although apparently the Rising Stars challenge gets a little heated. Like what was that?
It was wild. Hey, listen,
come on.
I mean, I guess that's the closest one to a real basketball game. So
fair. You're trying to make a name for yourself. I get it, but or add to the name to yourself that's already been recognized because you're in the Rising Stars challenge. But it's still like, man, I just don't care.
And
I just don't.
And NFL, I mean, we don't even got to talk about the Pro Bowl. Like the Pro
Dude,
Bowl,
I didn't even look at it.
I mean, they're playing flag at least now. They're not even trying to fake it, but it's like, yeah, no guys are going to potentially go tear their ACL in a Pro Bowl.
No, but to me, and maybe this is the way the NBA needs to do it too, is like you just need to do stuff like things that you have the quarterbacks do that nobody else can do.
Yeah, do skills contests all weekend. I want
drones involved. Put targets out there. See him throw a 50-yard dime right into a drone. Like that would be
like do the Kevin Love passing contest. Like just try to do full court heaves essentially.
Yeah, do these crazy throws.
I'm with you, Just. Make it a skills weekend. Have all the social events that still come with it, obviously, because I know that is a big weekend too for a lot of these cities. But
could they do like a? It wouldn't be break dancing, but it would be like you've got 30 seconds to do some crazy ball handling moves, and just like you judge it off that.
Yeah. No, it's like I don't know how to describe it because you're right. It's not break dancing, but it is. It's almost like art. It's like dance art with the basketball. It's like
NBA Street.
It's like figure skating, dude. It reminds me of figure skating. It's just like how close is that ball to your hand the whole time? Like
full on.
How many times you get it for your legs before you get up a certain I don't know, man. I see the vision at least.
Full on NBA Street type handles for 30 seconds or however much time you need, and then you rate it. Like it'd be like the dunk contest but ball handling. I don't know. It'd be kind of fun.
I'm with it. I'm all about it. The worst case scenario, it sucks, and then we never do it again.
And I think the intrigue of the 3-point contest. And I guess really mainly that's it, at least from the NBA side. No, the dunk contest should be on there too. It's just we've seen everything from the dunk contest. It's like when we're doing the All-Star week, just like the home run contest, I want to see them do something that's like unfathomable to an average person to even attempt, and then them just nail it. So like I get the dunk contest is on that list, but we're at a point where we've seen everything. So I don't know how you expand on it, but like 3-point contest. We just watched someone make 39 threes in a row. Like, there's no way an average person is doing that. You watch someone hit 50 home runs in a home run derby. Like, there's no way somebody's doing like that. That's the stuff that's intriguing to me. Watch a quarterback throw a crazy 80-yard pass on like a pin. Like, that's dope. Watch hockey players do these shots, these moves. Like, that's what I want to see when it comes to like showcasing an all-star weekend.
No, I'm with you, Just. I really don't disagree at all. I think there's a lot of different events that the NBA, and then maybe they tried to a little bit during COVID, during that summer.
Yeah,
that they could kind of work into it and it just have a better presentation All-Star weekend. I'm with you, though. It'd be nice to shake it up a little bit. Welcome, everybody, to the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rayfuse. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Justin Kuzart.
My NBA bot says, or NBA inspiration bot says, uncomfortable thoughts make you starving.
Is that like a thirst is real play?
Well, the background photo is 2 women in bikinis, so it might.
Yeah, no, I think it might be that. Okay, we're not gonna do the screenshot this time. I know. What's up with Inspo-Bot, man? Inspo-Bot needs to like
thirsty over here.
Too thirsty over here.
So we'll just do one more to try to make up. Adored is he who straightens his pairs, for he also impersonates his imaginary friend. What?
I don't know what that means. So we're going to move on. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us. Oh, Player FM too. Shout to Player FM. We've low-key been getting a lot of burn there recently. So shout to everybody listening on Player FM.
We also are on YouTube, which you can check us out. Drive and Dish NBA podcast. I guess someone was not very big fan of the last episode where we compared Fox and Cauley Stein.
Oh, Sherv got killed for that, and Sherv rightly got killed for that. That was insane. No. Both Vince and I rightly that was a wild comment.
Okay.
That would surprise me a little bit, and I get what he was trying to say is that like maybe you want the Aaron Fox step up a little bit more, but yeah, comparing him to Willie Cauley-Stein was a little wild.
Well, either way,
I hope our reaction portrayed how wild we thought that was.
Someone said, "Please do not have him back until." Well, I think he's allowed back. I'm saying, listen, gotta have redemption.
Oh, Vlad's got that was the what was that? Vlad's got he's got the sack area code in it, so there was a little bit extra passion there too.
Oh
so
I
respect that. You got to stick up for your city.
Listen, we have taken our fair share of dumps on Sacramento, so we definitely need to give them their props when they deserve it. So I get it, but
hey,
obviously
hear that, Sacramento, don't let Justin in. Only Justin. Don't let Justin in the city.
But either way, we do have the episodes up there. You can subscribe on YouTube, and you'll be notified when next episodes are coming out.
And now a word from our sponsors.
So a lot of trading going on. Trade deadline was, I guess, like a few days ago as of recording this episode. And I don't think to anybody's surprise, well, maybe a surprise, but I feel like they might have been winners last year. So being winners again this year just kind of seems par for the course. But I would say Knicks really shocked a lot of people again. Obviously, they made some moves before the trade deadline was coming up, which I think also are in this package of trade deadline conversations.
Yeah, I mean, we broke down the OG trade already, obviously, pretty significantly. But to me, it's about how little they gave up. Like, and maybe that's a counter loss to the Pistons, where I'm like, yo, with Bogdanovich and with Burks, I mean, more with Bogdanovich than Burks, but it's like, hey, they have value. Both of them space the floor. They can shoot the basketball. Like, there were multiple contending teams it felt like we're going to ask around for them. And the fact that you just didn't go and get a first round pick for them, like, that's crazy. They haven't given up a single first round pick with any of these, really.
Yeah.
And now I look at the roster, you look at it in lieu of all these moves with Bogdanovich, with Burks, with Anunoby. I mean, with Brunson, with Randall, with Hartenstein, like with Quickly, or not with Quickly, excuse me. I'm still, he's forever a Nick in my eyes because he was so fun there.
Yeah.
But this their top 9 is as good as anybody in the NBA, I think now. And that's really what this is all about, with the Eastern Conference kind of wide open right now. The Bucks have been inconsistent and all over the place, and that's something we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. The Sixers now have a huge Joel Embiid question. Look, the Celtics are the Celtics. We know that they're there and they're rolling and ready to go, but it's like, you know, you look around with the Knicks, you already beat Cleveland last year, and I think Cleveland's right there again, but it's like you feel good about your chances there. You know, why not push your chips in right now, the way Jalen Brunson is playing? Like, to me, the big question remains is what are your stars going to do in the playoff time? And that's more of a Randall question than anybody else. But like I said, your depth is there. Like, Tibbs can run out 9 guys come playoff time, and they're going to be able to beat up on most of these second units. Like, they can hit you from a variety of different ways at this point.
Yeah, like you said, Burks and Bogdanovich both shooting 40% from 3. And I would say I wouldn't gloss over the Cavs. They've been cooking since the trade deadline. Like, I guess a little bit before the deadline, but they've been cooking 9-1 in their last 10. Really taking advantage of the weaker top tier of the Eastern Conference right now, with the 76ers being hurt, like you alluded to, and with the Bucks floundering, like you alluded to. The Knicks and the Cavs really seem like they both, in a way, smelled blood in the water. Cavs more than the Knicks. Like I said, 9-1 in their last 10. Knicks are kind of 5-5 with a 4-game losing streak going into All-Star week. But again, there's also with the Knicks, the injuries. We'll see how, that pans out for them as well. So, I would say they're probably my big winner, in the short term. We've already kind of talked about it. Randall and OG injured, but Bogdanovich and Burks, they both help with the playmaking. In the medium to end of this season term, they give them a bunch of depth, like you were talking about, flexibility in the playoffs. And then in the long term, what I was reading from I think it was The Athletic, that Burks is a free agent this summer, and Bogdanovic has a 19 million team option for next season. So he'll either make the team or give them a salary, wiggle room some more. And to that point, did all of that without surrendering any first round picks. So it also keeps them in the ability to make some kind of blockbuster move if that's something that comes in the off season, a la LeBron James subtweets. and
Yeah,
and dude, I'll tell you what, I mean, TJ, he's a big Knicks fan. He was so pissed off LeBron James did that post-game interview with that Knicks little towel on.
he want to be flirted with a little bit. Come on,
That's what I said. I'm like, come on. LeBron's got to do it. He's either got to do it to make money on the Lakers side, or he's got to do it to like actually make it happen.
I don't think he's going to the Knicks, but I think he absolutely considers it. I think a lot of people consider it, and I think that's maybe why it's more disappointing. Is because he's always right there, but he's never quite going to ask you to the dance yet. You're just going to have that conversation. With the Lakers, I mean, I think a lot of people, they were pretty much stood pat. I mean, their biggest addition at this point was Spencer Dinwiddie, who, by the way, looks exactly like Norm Nixon in Winning Time in a Lakers uniform, like same hair, same facial hair. Like it is. I mean, Dinwiddie's taller, obviously, than Norm was a smaller guard, but it's remarkable. I was laughing at all those pictures, but I mean, it looks like the Lakers are going to pivot to the offseason. I mean, they'll have first round picks still, but I mean, unfortunately, that's the reality of when you have LeBron James, is that you're kind of expected to go after it every year. The Lakers are 30-26 right now. They won 3 in a row before the All-Star break, but that's what right now.
Well, and that's what I mean is like you're supposed to go all in for it. You've got two of the best NBA players in their prime or back half of their prime, and LeBron's a whole outlier in general in that. But it's like you didn't make any moves, so that feels like you're kind of saying, yeah, not this season. We'll see if we can do it next season. It's like, how many next seasons do you really have? And I know we feel like we talk about that and have been talking about that with LeBron for quite some time, but at some point, LeBron might also be like, look, guys, like, this ain't it. I got to go somewhere else that's actually going to be able to compete. Like, if he doesn't think they could do it next year, what does he do?
Did you hear about the Daryl Morey and Rob Pelinka phone call?
No.
Daryl Morey called the Lakers up and asked if LeBron was available per trade. And Pelinka got so mad that he asked if Embiid was available for trade. And I just picture it's like that image of the two dudes walking across the street from each other, just flipping each other off and not fighting, but just progressively. That's basically the equivalent of that phone call.
The video. What's your name? Tony. F you, Tony. No, what's your name? That's literally what that is. Like,
I appreciate the audacity, because apparently Morey also called the Suns to see if Book and KD were available, which is just like
hey, listen, you don't know if you don't ask, right?
No,
that's literally the equivalent of like the hottest girl at the bar sitting alone, and your boy's gassing you up, being like, the worst she can say is no, and then you go over there and absolutely get destroyed.
Hey, they're not wrong though. The worst they could say is no, I guess.
Yeah, the worst they could say is ignore you or no, and then all right, well, so that's what that was, I guess.
In terms of other bigger moves that I want to talk about here, I mean, the Sixers kind of moved things around a little bit, letting Pat Bev go.
Mm-hmm. Which he announced on his podcast,
right? Which respect, new media, as Draymond would say.
Well, I saw someone post, it said post trade line recap, trades announced. It was like Woj 13, Shams 14, Pat Bev 1.
I mean, hey, he got it right. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, a lot of like role player reshaping there. Marcus Morris is gone too. I mean, the big addition for the Sixers has been Buddy Hield, who's been phenomenal. And again, somebody that they only gave up second round picks for. So I think that's huge.
Well,
it is kind of hilarious that Buddy Hield has been in like every Sixers rumor for the past 7 years, it feels like.
Finally happened.
Finally happened, and he's as awesome as everyone's been expected.
Well, and to that, I think, with him, because right now I feel like the 76ers are in limbo, right? Like everything depends on if Embiid's back.
Yeah.
And if he's not, then what are we doing this season? We don't need to really do anything. And I feel like Buddy Hield kind of fits that in a way. Like obviously he can come in and help out Maxey, help out with the 3-point shooting. I think 76ers are 27th in the league for threes per game. Like Batum's good, but he doesn't shoot a ton of them. And so you need a little bit more of that. Hield comes in perfectly for that. But also he's a free agent after this season. So, you do have the summer to kind of, are we bringing him back? Are we moving on? And then give you some more cap space to try to do whatever you need to do around Joel Embiid next year.
Well, they got the ball handling they needed to with Campaign and with Kyle Lowry off the bench. Now, again, neither of them, I think, are game-changing moves. And like you said, Embiid is that's all that matters at this point. But I think the second unit has a little more juice than I expected. I was bummed when Pat Bev left. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't expect to love a role player that much so quickly. But I see what's going on. They had to get Lowry. Like that was the biggest thing. It was like if you were gonna let Beverly go, you had to get Lowry. They did bring Lowry in, so that helps a little bit here. I mean, as always, a lot's going to be on Tobias Harris, but it all comes down to Embiid's health. If he's healthy, I think they can make a run at it. If he's not healthy, then like you said, you're punting the season essentially.
It will be interesting, learning the flow on the go, literally, if Embiid does come back with these new guys. And I mean, if he's back, then that just is what it is. Like you're going to have to figure it out. It's better than not. But also I would rather them be cautious, obviously, than try to rush something. But I feel like that's just the overall consensus with Embiid. So,
well, it segues in. The Sixers segue in well to the Bulls because, I mean, the Sixers gave up second rounders to get Buddy Hield. Apparently, they had a deal done more or less to bring Andre Drummond back and kind of have him play a lot of the center minutes alongside Paul Reed, obviously, when Embiid is hurt. And the Bulls backed out last minute because they wanted 3 second rounders for Drummond. And so it's like, then you go out and get Buddy Hield, who obviously is making way bigger of an impact than Drummond is. The Bulls haven't made a trade now since 2021.
I saw that.
The last trade was the Vucevic trade. And I said, I don't know if they have PTSD from it because they did get completely fleeced in that one. But they've decided not to do anything. But it really is remarkable and look, I know with LaVine, with him getting hurt, it did kind of just shoot the market in the foot before you could really do anything, even if you wanted to sell low. So there I'd get a bit more hesitant. But, when you look at a guy like Alex Caruso, who I think every contender is knocking for and probably willing to pay a premium for.
The Ringer put out that they could have gotten multiple first-round picks for Caruso.
Yeah, between Caruso, right. You have Caruso, who I think maybe could have got you multiple. I think DeMar DeRozan is somebody who would have had a lot of attention and who was linked to some of these contenders as well. And it's just, when you look at both of those guys, they don't make sense for what this team is doing in the long term. And that just kind of remains the issue with the Bulls in general, is it's like they have no direction at all. They're just listlessly floating in the NBA universe right now. And the team has clearly needed to blow it up really since Lonzo Ball went down, and to just not even try to remotely capitalize, like trading Alex Caruso and getting 2 first rounders back is a real great way to do that. Like you're sitting at, I mean, they're in the playoffs right now, but they're 26-29. Like this is not a good basketball team. They're a solid 4 games behind the Magic for 8 right now. I don't know. It's really like when you look at all the NBA teams here in the past, I don't know, let's say decade, Chicago is looking as bad as it can get. I mean, especially post Derrick Rose and Jimmy era.
I mean, to be honest with you, though, the Bulls, it's bad, but, and maybe not in the building. They don't think it's bad, but it's definitely bad. But, to me, almost worse than that, especially just off record, is the Hawks. They're even worse somehow.
Yeah, it felt like the Hawks were due for a shakeup as well.
I know Murray
And I'm
was
not
talked
fully at the
about, yeah,
and
and
I'm not
so
fully at the trading Trae Young point. Like I'm nowhere near that. For the Hawks, I saw a couple of people start to float that and start to wonder if he's the next
mhm,
star player becomes available. I'm still not there for Atlanta. But you're right. I mean, with some of the role guys, I don't know. They're 21 and or 24 and 31 right now. That's a team that obviously has had expectations, especially since moving for DeJounte Murray, like you mentioned last
yeah.
year. And it's just kind of like the grace period has run out. Like you've had Murray now for over a season and a half. Quinn Snyder's been there now with a full off season, so you can't even be like, oh, you're bringing in a new coach. Maybe there's a little bit of a difference there. You're right. That is a team I would start to, and it is ironic. They're 6-4 in their last 10, but it's just like this is a team that has dreams of competing for the East, and when it's pretty wide open, they're sitting at 10
Yeah.
against, they're
That's what I
behind young
mean.
with
Bloods
younger teams that potentially jump them too. When you look at
yeah,
Orlando being ahead of them, when you look at Indiana being ahead of them, and that's not even including all the usual suspects, the Bostons, the Miamis, the Milwaukees of the world. Um,
that's what I
you're
mean, like,
you're right.
blood
I would
blood's
have
in
liked
the
to see a shakeup
water.
there.
Blood's in the water, you gotta make a move. The Cavs and Knicks are capitalizing, and the
Yeah.
Hawks aren't, you know? You know, you look at the Magic too, a younger team that's starting to put it together and really probably gonna be in a either play-in tournament, playoff situation this year, and it's like,
Yeah.
the Hawks were in the finals not that long ago, like, it's like, "What happened here?"
I knew some
So,
people were disappointed in Orlando that they kinda didn't push in a little more and
that's fair.
maybe go get another guard, but I do think you play it cautious a little bit.
Yep,
Um, you know, I because the team is so young,
let them develop
because
still.
you've got Paulo and Franz, right? It's like I don't think you need to push the war chest in until you're ready to get something. And I think the temptation again is there because the East is so much weaker this year and is wide open. But I also counter with, is it? Like Boston's got 43 wins. Are we grossly underestimating how
100%.
like wide open this conference? I know Boston has had playoff issues in the past, and I know that Miami is always like a lurking dragon somewhere, but Boston is by far the best team in the Eastern Conference right now.
They might be the best team, period, right now.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
I have teams that are close to them. I mean, they're all in the West. I
yeah,
mean, that's
that's
what
what
it
I
all comes
mean.
down
Yeah,
to.
for
Yeah,
sure in the West. And I mean, obviously, like the Bucks are floundering right now. We don't know what that is, and Doc and all that. Like, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But at the end of the day, you don't want to sleep on Giannis. But if there's a year that it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen, it's definitely this year. There's been a lot of shakeups over there, and things seem weird. But yeah, it's like to me, it's the Celtics are cooking.
and they got Tillman. They got Xavier
Mhm.
Tillman from the Grizzlies. I feel like that's a great pickup for them.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Like
mean,
that's an
like,
annoyingly good pickup for Boston. That's a classic like role player that they go and pinch, and then who's going to
mhm.
play there, and everyone's going to go, "Wow, he was really good. How come
How'd
you
they
didn't
get
notice?"
him? Yeah.
Just because you weren't watching Memphis.
Well, that's also fair because
um,
Memphis hasn't been great.
I like Gordon Hayward going to OKC. I think that's a really good pickup for them. Again, I'm still kind of I don't know. I don't know if I'm there believing in OKC, and they keep winning games, so maybe I should be. But it's just, but adding a Gordon Hayward will start to make me believe a little more when you put some veterans there. Hayward's going to likely come off the bench. I don't think there's going to be a lot of expectations there, but um, yeah, I mean, and now for him too, being in Charlotte, where it looked like you were going to be a buyout candidate. Now again, you're going to OKC, one of the hottest young teams in the league. He's been averaging 14 and a half this season. He's shooting 36% from three. So yeah, I mean, he's got an opportunity to be a really big bench piece for this team. And I think that's a good role for him.
I was trying to find, there were 2 tweets that I saw. It was something about the age of all the guys on OKC and Gordon Hayward. I don't know I can't remember the context of it, but it was something wild. And the other one was, I think it was, for the Sixers, Mo Bamba was gonna wear number 5, so people were talking about how
Yeah,
we now
Bamba number
have
5.
Mo Bamba number 5, yeah. So, trade deadline always creates little fun things like that.
Well, it was a lot. There weren't really that many big stars. I mean, the only other big move, if you want to put it in air quotes is the Grant Williams trade, right? Going from Grant going from Dallas to Charlotte. And I think that more of anything is just that Grant Williams wasn't working in Dallas. And it's kind of crazy how
I
quickly
was
that flamed out.
I was
Um,
reading that he changed his shoes to Jason Tatum's shoes or something, and rubbed a lot of the Maverick guys the wrong way,
oh, he's
and
not wearing the
obviously
Lucas.
yeah, like, I heard that was a whole thing, and he did a lot of talking and,
Oh, he's a
obviously
talker for sure. Like Grant's
right,
a talker, and that's the thing is like when it's working,
he's
you
great.
love it. But it's like if it's not like Grant wasn't playing that great this year. Like the defense was kind of
Well,
eh. Like he's
that's
only
the other
averaging 8
part.
points. That's the thing
That's
is like the talking doesn't work when you're doing a little too much.
well, and they said he kind of was out of shape and, I'm never one to talk on that because, like, who am I to talk about someone's physical abilities at that point? But if that's what the reports are saying, then I get where there could be some frustration, and if it's a locker room problem, then you gotta go.
Now Charlotte's 3-0 in Grant Williams era, so maybe they needed that down there. I mean, that's probably a locker room that could use
Someone
somebody like whipping him into shape a little bit. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, sometimes it clearly wasn't working there. I mean, that was a highly touted offseason acquisition for Dallas,
Yeah.
and it just did not go the way either of them
One
expected. So
one of and this will kinda lead into my ball-in, so I won't go fully, but there was another rumor of a potential Dallas Mavericks move that didn't happen, which would have been very interesting, but again, we'll talk about that, coming up here in a second.
yeah, well, let's get into it. Who's balling, who's falling, our NBA version of the stock market. We always like start with the good before the bad. So balling for me this week, I've got the finalists for the Basketball Hall of Fame this year. Pretty decent class. You got Vince Carter, of course, Chauncey Billups. Those are the two headliners, if you will. You've also got Michael Cooper, who's a huge part of the Showtime Lakers, five-time
Mhm.
champ, defensive guy. Walter Davis, who is six-time All-Star. He's the leading scorer in Phoenix Suns history. On a college and high school front, you've got Bo Ryan, who spent 32 seasons in the collegiate levels, 747 and 233 overall, mostly in Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin, Plattsville, University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and then Wisconsin itself. And then Charles Smith, who is the Louisiana's all-time winningest high school head coach.
Oh, cool. I like that. I like it.
Vince is a lock.
Yeah.
I, I
Well
I think that
yeah.
goes without saying. I would think Billups gets in too. I mean, Billups he's a three-time All NBA player, two on the All Defensive team. He won a title, obviously, was a huge part of that. Like his career averages aren't super great, but I think because he was such a big part of Detroit, he was really good in Denver and with the Knicks too, that I feel like kind of gets forgot about a little bit. So I could see him getting there too. Michael Cooper is my sleeper, and maybe we talked a little bit about winning time earlier. Maybe a little bit of bump from there because they
Mhm.
highlighted him being, kind of being a last minute roster spot in the early Showtime Lakers to being one of the key pieces over that run. So either way, best of luck to everybody, and we
And
will
I'm
be following up on that soon.
and I'm wondering if we'll be able to use any of those guys in the immaculate grid here at the end of the episode.
Yeah, sneak a few in. We'll see what we got.
See what we have. My ballin is gonna go out to the loyalty of Kyle Kuzma. He apparently was rumored to have a trade on the table to go to the Dallas Mavericks, and he apparently decided to not want that trade to happen. And his, I guess, comment on it is, I just felt like we're on such different timelines in our lives. Although I have good relationships with the Dallas organization, it wasn't the right time for me in my career. I'm trying to build something here, aka at Washington, with the Wizards. That's something I don't shy away of. So I think that was my biggest factor. Also, there's not many contending teams, and going to the right situation is always the most important thing in the NBA. So, in a way, saying Dallas is not a contending team, also saying that they're building something with the Wizards. So there's a lot to unpack there. But shout out to Kyle Kuzma for the loyalty at the bare minimum of the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where Kuz has a title with the Lakers. Like, I think that's
Yeah,
the biggest thing is that, Kuz isn't chasing that ring. Like, he checked that box
he
off
got
pretty
it.
early when it with the Lakers. So I do think there's a little more. Like, look, I don't know what they're building in Washington, but if you're really happy there, like you got a big contract, if you like living in DC, if that's where you're at in your life, then so be it. Like I'm not going to knock somebody wanting to stay where they want to be if that's happy. Where like I'm surprised again from the Wizards' perspective that they're not trying to move Kuzma just because they're going nowhere fast. And so
Well,
you think somebody like Kuzma or like a Tyus Jones or Corey Kispert, like those would be the type of players that contenders would want and that would kind of help you rebuild the war chest here a little bit. Instead, you're going to keep your money on Kuzma, and that's fine, I guess. Like
they're building something.
I like it way more for Kyle than I do for the Wizards. Put it that way. Like Kuzma, I completely get it. With the Wizards, I don't understand why on earth you're keeping Kyle Kuzma.
Well, I wonder if it was a player thing because I thought I read that he doesn't have the player option, but the Wizards talked to him about it, and he said he didn't really like the idea. So I guess they pivoted. But it's like, yeah, like if you're the Wizards, what are we doing here? And I don't know what you're necessarily building from the Kyle Kuzma sides of things.
Yeah.
So,
fallen for me is Doc Rivers. Since his tenure, the Bucks are 3-7 since he has taken over. They only have wins over Dallas, Charlotte, and Denver. Going into the break, losses to Miami, losses to Memphis. The loss to Memphis, probably the most egregious given the state of Memphis's roster at this point.
yep.
Look, I'm not going to be a total hater. The defense has been better since Doc has taken over, but also like we all told you, like we all knew this was going to happen. I mean, Doc, it's the quotes too, more where Doc is like, I think half our rosters in Cabo already. It's just like, all right, Doc, like, come on. Like, is that really, are you going to just, again, blaming everybody else?
How have the lineups looked?
Like they were playing all the vets and that they don't like playing young guys, and something that we probably saw coming from a mile away.
Well,
you know what? Somebody brought up the box score from a game that I really don't like to speak about. And honestly, I do maintain this though. That game against the Hawks where the Sixers blew like the 26-point lead in the with the third quarter left, and that ended up costing them the series against Atlanta. That to me was way more egregious than the Kawhi Leonard loss. Like way more egregious and way more deflating and way more like soul crushing.
Yeah.
And I think that game though, I look at the box score and it's the perfect indictment on two things that were just awful, or the big three of that Sixers era. Doc Rivers played Furkan Korkmaz 29 minutes. He played Tyrese Maxey 1. So that's number one. Ben Simmons was like 4-14 from the line. So there's number two. And as always, the sleeper is always the somehow sleeper and coming up short for the Sixers. Never gets the credit for it. Tobias Harris had 4 freaking points. 4. But no one will ever mention Tobias just being completely useless whenever it comes time to be important. So, yeah, oy vey. Doc stinks.
All that to just say, yeah, we told you so.
Yeah.
My fallen is going out to the situation with the Pistons and Suns, more specifically Isaiah Stewart and Drew Eubanks. Isaiah Stewart was arrested before their game after an altercation with Eubanks. Apparently, Stewart was arrested for assault, issued a citation, and released. He wasn't even playing in the game because he was out for a sprained ankle. But police say that the two got into a fight around 4:45 in the tunnel of the arena parking lot. There was an argument. Eubanks only had a minor injury. Police had to separate them. Like I said, Stewart was already out for the game. The Suns put out a statement saying the attack on Drew Eubanks was unprovoked and acts of violence such as this are unacceptable. Monty Williams afterwards says, I know the Suns put out a statement and said that it was unprovoked, that they should have taken some time to like assess the situation a little bit more, which is wild. But obviously Isaiah Stewart's got history. Him and LeBron kind of went at it. I think it was last year. So yeah, crazy situation to get arrested before the game, especially in a game you're not even playing in.
Like, I think one of the consistencies that whenever you hear NBA players talk and on podcasts, and then we say all the time is that NBA guys, more often than not, even when they're jawing, even when they're getting each
They're
other's
not
face,
actually gonna.
probably not gonna fight. Nobody really wants to fight. It's not that serious. There's a lot of money involved. Like,
Right.
you're on a hardwood court. It's gonna hurt. Yada yada yada. Isaiah Stewart is not one of those people. He 100% wants to fight you and will fight you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what. Great, Eubanks got snuffed apparently and just took it on the chin. So good for him for like apparently just taking that and being ready to go. The assault charge is kind of crazy, but also like you punched a dude in the face, like that is a little beyond that's clearly beyond basketball at that point.
Yeah.
For Isaiah Stewart, this is now a recurring. I mean, obviously, there's the infamous GIF of him charging down the court, having to be restrained by everybody. It's not a good look. It's not a good look.
At some point, you're gonna start getting the Draymond treatment. You know, like it
sticks around that long. I mean, you talk
True.
about it like Dre is one of the best defensive players ever. Like, Draymond got the benefit of the doubt because he was so good and because they were winning for so long. Isaiah Stewart is playing on the Detroit Pistons right now. And I know they have pulled themselves out of being the worst team that we've ever seen. Like, they've actually been a lot more competitive and winning some games here recently. But you're not going to have that grace period that other guys, toe the line players may have.
No, I agree. You don't do that as a team that's 8-46. You just don't. I mean, maybe you do out of frustration, but
it's crazy because they broke the loss in a row streak, obviously, this season, and they're not even going to be close to the all-time losing record. How quickly, just by winning 5 games, they were able to pull themselves out of that. Yeah, I mean, it really, really speaks to that record more than anything. But all right, it is about that time. Should we play some Immaculate Grid?
Let's do it. I will get it up here on the screen for us.
Yeah, this is the first one in a few weeks for me that I play with you at least, obviously.
I haven't. Yeah, I haven't. I've taken a little bit of a break because I feel like I was starting to in terms of find consistencies, certain players that worked in a bunch of different situations.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, and that's always the thing, right? Is once I mean, I almost feel like we're cheating when we use them sometimes. It's like the couple that stand out, or it's like, the Ish Smiths of the world, the Jeff Greens of the world. The one player I told you off the mic that is really popping up a lot, who just never for some reason gets into my head, is Kelly Olynyk. And Kelly Olynyk works for a lot of teams. But just never seems to pop in my head. But all right, again, reminder that you can watch the Immaculate Grids on YouTube. Just search Driving Dish NBA podcast. For the pod listeners, our columns from left to right, we've got the Chicago Bulls. We've got 20 points a game per season, and we've got Born Outside the U.S. 50 states in D.C. Our rows across from top to bottom, we've got the Dallas Mavericks, the New Orleans Pelicans, and 5,000 career assists. Justin did say that this was probably going to be kind of easy. I sort of already agree with him. I feel like a bunch of these I'm cooking for.
Well, I've got 2 out of the team player connections.
Okay.
But I think one might work as the 5,000 assists career. Actually, definitely. I'm almost positive he would. For the Chicago Bulls, he definitely works as the Chicago Bulls and Mavericks connection. But I think he works as the 5,000 assists, Rajon Rondo.
Yeah, Rondo definitely works for 5K assists. Like you mentioned, he also definitely does work for Bulls and Mavericks. I know Mavericks fans probably try to forget about that tenure.
Was he ever with the Pelicans? Would he work for both? Did he ever do Pelicans?
He was with Pelicans, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Wow, he'd be the column of Rondo.
Now we just have to figure out which one we think is going to be the least likely for him to be in that column.
Well, I'm thinking of Chicago 5,000 assists. Like that's the question then right away. But I feel like some of them just kind of, I mean, you can default, right? Like Michael Jordan has to have 5,000 career assists. I don't think he has many more, but I know Michael Jordan has 5,000 career assists. I would imagine that Scottie Pippen also has 5,000 career assists. I'm a lot less bullish on that one than I am on MJ. My thought is, I think if we're doing percentages, I feel like we should use Scottie for the Bulls and 5K assists.
Oh,
just because I like
hold on.
Rondo more in the other two. Like, I know Rondo will knock the players off, and I'm trying to go through the players real
Hold
quick, and I'm
on.
more oh, I have a Bulls Pelicans, actually, never mind, just
Hold
kidding.
on.
Okay.
Hold on. Dwayne Wade
Oh, for the Bulls, yeah, that would
for
be,
5,000 assists. You think he's got to have that, right?
I would think so. I mean, he's a guard, like
Right? But that would be that. I doubt people associate him with the Bulls
no, they
as
definitely
much.
don't associate with the Bulls, 'cause I mean, he did spend a full season with Chicago, unlike it
Yeah,
wasn't like the Cleveland
but
year where he did.
when you're thinking Immaculate Grid, when you're thinking Bulls 5,000 career assists, you're
No,
not
I
thinking D
don't think of
Wade.
Wade. No, I don't think of Wade at all, and I think of Scottie Pippen way more. So I'm okay with going Wade there. I
You want to
think
go
that'll be
Wade?
low. Yeah, he'll definitely have 5K assists.
I hope you're right.
He
Okay,
definitely
good. Yeah,
okay,
8%.
8%. Okay.
That's a good guess.
Yeah, I'm all right.
All right. So
Uh,
do we still want to go run? I know. So again, from our default thing, my usual hold on. My go-to for Pelicans
uh-huh.
20 points per game is Boogie because he only played for like half a
Yeah,
season.
but you have to do because you're right. He's the only you're yep, half a
I'm
season, you're
almost
right.
positive he had it that season. Like I'm pretty confident that he works there and it's usually pretty low.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
disagree.
you want to try him there?
Yeah, I'm cool doing Boogie there.
I'm pretty sure he did 20. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
4%. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're
That's
right.
one of those ones that I just always keep in the bank because I know it's always low.
No, and it will be and it is one of the bigger what ifs for me because I think him and AD were starting to hit their
Yeah.
stride. I say that all the time. Okay, do we want to do Rondo for Mavs Bulls then and get that? I don't
You want to
think
do
I
that?
have any. The only player that for some reason is on the tip of my tongue, and I don't think like I'm not 100%, but I feel like I know he was a Bull, is Denzel Valentine. I'm not nearly 100% that he was a Maverick, and so
I
I'd rather use
so
Rondo.
so yeah, I think Rondo will work there. I know Doug McDermott also was on both of these teams.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
McBuckets was a Bull?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, yeah, like not that long ago. I'm
That's
almost positive he was.
Rondo
Um,
is Rondo really does work for a lot of places because he was definitely a
yeah,
Pelican too, you're right.
yeah.
Um,
So we have that. I know. Wouldn't no, never mind. I don't think so. I was just saying
so
Drew Holiday, but I don't think Drew was on the Bulls. I think his
no,
brother was on the Bulls.
yes, Drew's never been on the Bulls. Brother definitely was.
Okay.
The one I know works for Pels and Bulls is Tyson Chandler. Tyson Chandler got drafted by the Bulls 2 overall,
Oh, interesting.
and he was on the Pels because he was on the Pels and the Bobcats, I think, kind of
So,
back to back.
yeah, should we do Chandler for that and then Rondo for,
That's what I'm
or
thinking,
do you
yeah.
think McDermott would be less?
Oh, then Rondo.
Because would Rondo count? Would Rondo ever do 20 points per season in a game?
Man, he might have with the that's his thing. He might have with Boston.
But you have to do it in that season with. I think you have to do it with the team, right?
Rondo definitely didn't do it with Dallas.
No, definitely
I
not.
think you're right, but like
So I
Rondo
don't.
definitely did not do it
So
with
maybe we
Dallas.
use Rondo for Bulls Mavs. We do Chandler for Bulls Pels.
Yeah, or you can do McDermott at the top one. It's whichever one I'll trust whichever one you think has
I
less
don't know.
percentage at the
Well,
top. They both work.
let's do Chandler, right? Tyson Chandler.
Yeah, Tyson Chandler definitely works.
Cool. 7% there. Dude, I'm back and forth. I feel like Rondo is really well-known player in general, where Doug McDermott probably isn't.
No,
It's crazy
definitely
that we
not.
started having Rondo in every category we're not gonna
And now
use
we
him.
haven't been none.
All right, Doug.
Yeah, Doug worked because Doug definitely played for the Bulls.
Yeah. Doug McDermott.
Okay, yeah,
2%,
2%.
baby.
I think that'll be I think that's probably lower than Rondo. People like,
Yeah.
Rondo's usable for a lot of categories, and people know who he is. Like he's been in the league a long time.
I was gonna
man.
say Rondo was born in the US, right? He's not outside.
Yeah, Rondo
Yeah.
was born in the US.
Okay.
I mean, we'll go to that last because I feel like that's kind of easy to be honest. 20 points a game per season for Dallas. I mean, the easy ones are Luka and Dirk. Michael Finley, I feel like probably had 20 a game for Dallas. I don't think Kyrie didn't last year, right?
Ooh. Did Spencer Dinwiddie by chance?
Oh my god, I don't think so, but
I
that'd be
don't either, but
crazy.
that'd be wild.
Um,
Boy, okay. Who else would be Porzingis? No, right? I don't think he did 20.
no, I don't think he had 20 there because you kind of a disappointment there. You got hurt a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. Porzingis
Uh,
actually would work for Born Outside. 50
yeah, he would. Yeah,
but
he would actually. Yeah, why don't we use him for outside? I'll use him for born outside there
for
because
Kristaps
the two obvious ones there
Porzingis.
are also
Woo!
Dirk and Luca.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
5%. I mean, people weren't thinking Porzingis. I was thinking, Turkoglu was the other guy I was gonna go with for that.
Oh,
Um,
dude, I'm a clown. He definitely had over 20 a game for Dallas. Not a lot. I just looked at him now that we used him, but not a
oh,
lot. But he was at like right at
for
Porzingis
20
was at
per game?
yeah, he was at 20.4 and 20.1 in
Wow,
his
okay. We
2
could have done
seasons
that.
with Dallas.
Okay, we could have done that. I bet that would have been lower, honestly. I wonder if it would have been. All right. Mm,
Pelicans born outside US in 50.
Schroeder? Did Schroeder ever play there? He's always my go-to for some reason. I feel like he might have.
I don't think he played for the Pels. The one I know for a fact, well, there's two I know for 100% work for the Pels without even thinking, and that's Jonas Valanciunas and
Valanciunas is good.
Steven Adams.
Oh,
Steven,
yeah,
both of
Steven
them
Adams.
work. I'm trying to think. Like Brandon Ingram was born in the U.S. Zion was born in the U.S.
Yeah.
And I'm trying
Who
to think who else
played
they've had
back
over the
with
years, like Baron Davis, Jamal Mashburn.
yeah,
Um,
point guards?
he doesn't have a
Elfrid Payton, baby, but he's, Louisiana, baby.
was
Born in Louisiana. Don't ask me
Jose.
how I know that.
Where was I don't know where Jose Alvarado was born
Mm,
because I know he plays for Puerto Rico, but was he born in Puerto Rico?
I don't know.
That's the thing. Is like that's real. Like
Yeah.
um,
Should we just go Valanciunas or Adams? I bet Adams would be less.
I think Adams is less too. Because Valanciunas is a super foreign sounding name. Steven
Yeah,
Adams is not exactly a super
yeah.
foreign sounding name.
Well, let's do Steven Adams.
Yeah, Steven Adams is cool. I'm down with that.
12%. A little higher
Yeah.
than I thought, but that works. Okay.
This is the big Kiwi, so I guess people know in that regard.
So, in terms for 5,000 career assists and born outside of the US, I feel like an obvious answer is Ricky Rubio.
Yeah, that should work.
He's got to have 5,000 career assists.
I would be stunned if he didn't.
Let's just do it. Let's risk it all. Right?
Yeah, all right, I'm with it.
Okay, yeah, he's good.
Okay. That's what I figured. Like,
there's no way he doesn't have 5,000 career assists.
20 points per game a season and 5,000 career assists. I mean, the obvious ones are LeBron and MJ. They both have that, no question. Russell Westbrook has that without even thinking.
Harden probably.
Harden definitely. I would even imagine KD does.
Yeah.
Steph, Scottie Pippen, Chris Paul.
Who you want to roll with? I feel like all of them are easy. They're probably going to be. It's just.
I like, dude. Do Scottie. Let's do Scottie. I feel like he's going to be really low there because he's not thought of as an assist. Yeah, he's not thought of as an assist guy, but he was definitely around long enough to get 5K.
2%. There you go.
Yeah, he definitely had over 20 a game. All right. I mean, Dallas. We have two obvious answers to close this out in Dirk and Luca.
Yeah.
The question is, do we want to get weird with it? Michael Finley, I guess, is my get weird option. I don't think Tim Hardaway Jr. has had it recently in his time there. I don't think Nash ever got 20 in Dallas. Like, I think he was close, but I don't think he got 20. I'm trying to think of like who else are there made because the 2011 team was so balanced. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Sean Marion was ever at 20
what about
in Dallas.
No, but like Jason Terry.
Oh, Jason Terry's.
Did he do 20 though?
Oh man, I don't know, but that'd be the one. I don't think he did 20 though.
I don't feel
off the bench. No, I don't feel confident enough either.
Okay, but hold on. Did Jalen Brunson do it while he was there?
Was he?
Because he played really good, but
he was so good in the playoffs, though. That's the thing is, like, I feel like that's where Brunson broke out. His first couple of years there, he wasn't like really that guy. I'm like trying to think
Yeah.
who else played for the Mavericks like all time. Like, what about like Jerry Stackhouse played for Dallas, didn't he?
You're getting too deep for me on that one.
I think I don't think he was in his prime there is my point. Like I associate Jerry Stackhouse with the Pistons more than anybody.
Hmm.
My only one other than Dirk and Luka is Michael Finley. And Michael Finley, I'm not remotely 100% about, but I remember he was really good with Steve Nash and with Dirk. And so I feel pretty confident there. Like he was an all-star around then.
I'll roll with you on that one because I'm not.
It'll be lower than Dirk and Luka. I'm pretty I'm do it. I'm calling my shot. I think he's definitely there. He's got to be.
Who'd you say?
Michael Finley.
Michael
Finley.
Oh, one N-L.
Yeah, one N.
There he is. Okay. Let's give it a go.
All right, here we go. No pressure.
Yes. The rarity score is 62.
All right. I think Finley did it. Let me look at Michael Finley real quick. Oh yeah, we were good.
Yeah.
21 and a half in 97, 98, 20.2, 22.6, 21.5.
Okay.
Yeah, he definitely like trailed more towards the end. I mean, he was a 20-point game scorer for a good 4 or 5 years. He's right on the cusp in like 03 and 04.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 8% though. That's pretty. I mean, yeah, besides because I mean Porzingis, Dirk, and Luka are the only other ones I think of. Like I struggle to think of Mavericks from back in the day, to be honest.
Says there's
like,
12 of them total.
Click it. Let me see what we got.
I don't know if it's gonna give. Oh yeah, it will give me Dallas.
I think it
Okay.
does.
Yeah, it does. So Dirk a bunch of times, Finley, Luka, Kyrie, Kristaps, Porzingis.
Kyrie would have
twice.
worked. Okay, that was my other question.
Kristaps, Porzingis twice. Okay, let's see. Ronaldo Blackman in 86, 87. Mark Aguirre.
Wow, that would have been crazy.
Jay Vincent way back. Yeah, I mean Jim Jackson, Mashburn. That's
all 1%ers for sure, though, is the point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right. So do you mind clicking off for a sec? I'm gonna just run the top answers for each one real quick. So our answers, just to recap, were Mavs and Bulls. We got Doug McDermott, Mavs 20 point per season, Michael Finley, Mavs born outside the US, Kristaps Porzingis. For Pels and Bulls, Tyson Chandler. For Pels and 20 a game, DeMarcus Cousins. For Pels born outside the US, Steven Adams. For Bulls, 5K assists, Dwayne Wade. For 5K assists and 20 a game, Scottie Pippen. For 5K assists and born outside the US, we got Ricky Rubio. Then you just mind just going real quick to the most popular answers. Scroll down, let's see what we got. So for Bulls and Mavericks, Tyson Chandler.
Lonzo Ball.
Lonzo, true. Yeah, it's a good answer. Wow,
I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Lonzo for Bulls and Pels. Michael Jordan for Bulls and 5K assists. LeBron for 5K assists and 20 a game. AD for 20 a game for the Pels. Dirk for the Mavs. Dirk for born outside as well. Valanciunas was the most popular for Pels foreign player. Yeah. And Steve Nash, born outside US 50 states and DC, obviously in Canada. Makes with sense. 5K assists, really popular there.
Yep.
But all right. It's good to be back. Going 9 for 9. Love to see it.
Hardest one would have been Bulls and Pels.
That makes sense, honestly. Like, yeah. I mean, I had only thought of Tyson Chandler at the time we fired that off. Like Lonzo in hindsight would have been a huge overlook by us.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely regardless. That one it's tougher. There's not a huge combo there.
Yep.
Thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. Appreciate you guys as always. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read them on the show. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us.
And just like Vlad Father 916, who was very upset about our King's takes from last episode.
With one King's take, not the podcast. I mean, don't make him sound like a hater. He's upset about one take, and he wasn't wrong necessarily.
No. We also had someone upset that we forgot someone for a grid 2 weeks ago. But either way, you can chime in on our mistakes or things you disagree about or agree about on YouTube. Search Drive and Dish NBA podcast. You can subscribe, obviously watch a video version of that podcast and get notifications when new episodes are coming out.